With the Weight Shift Part 1 video, I talked about just how critical weight shift is during the golf swing. And there I was specifically talking about during the downswing, because that's where all the magic happens, right? That's where the payoff is. You can do a lot of things wrong in the backswing, but if you screw up the downswing and you screw up the sequencing of it, the ball's not gonna go where we want it to. So it's critical that you understand how important it is to shift your weight correctly during the backswing to set up a proper weight shift during the downswing. So the key is, if you look back at the video I did on how to swing from the ground up, right? It's a term we've heard a million times, and I go in depth about how critical it is to load yourself up on the right side during the backswing, because what that's gonna do is help give you the momentum and the stored energy to help you shift back to the left. So many golfers are terrified of this term of swaying. They don't want to sway. And so they've heard that they don't want to have their hips sliding all over the place. And so what they do is they lock themselves in place, and then they can't move anything except for up top, and their legs can't do anything to help facilitate power in the swing, which is one of your primary sources of power from the ground and from your big muscles in your trunk, but also sequencing. And sequencing, as I talked about on the Part 1 video, helps you maintain lag, helps you get into a proper impact position, helps you set the club on plane during the downswing. So it's critical that you understand how to shift to the right, and first of all, understand that it's okay and you need to shift to the right. It's necessary for power in the swing. Think about any other sport that you've ever done or seen in life, whether it's a hitting or throwing sport. All of them involve weight shift. You've never seen a baseball player throw a ball like this without shifting their weight, or shifting their weight to their front foot and then tilting back. None of that makes any sense. It's not an athletic motion. Every sport follows the same sequence. You're gonna load your weight up to your back foot, and then you're gonna transfer your weight to your left foot, and then you're gonna pivot your hips, and then you're gonna throw the ball. Same thing if you're hitting, you're gonna have your weight loaded up on your back leg, and then you're gonna go to your left, and then you're gonna rotate your pelvis, and you're gonna produce power from your trunk. But so many people are so afraid of swaying and getting into this reverse pivot motion that they don't allow themselves to shift to the right. And then once I tell them, hey, it's okay, you need to allow yourself to shift, then they start sliding too much. So how do you find the balance? Where is the medium spot? Well, the right hip line is your checkpoint here. You want to imagine that if you drew a line, and of course if you're using our swing analyzer software on the site, you can video yourself and draw lines on your hip, which I highly encourage you to do so that you can see what's really happening. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to put a golf shaft over here. And what I'm going to do is, as I make my backswing, I'm going to try and keep that shaft from ever moving backwards, away from the target, or toward the target. And so as I do this, you'll notice that my right hip line, this is this outer line here, appears that it never changes direction away from the target or toward the target. Now, if I slide my hips too much and I don't rotate them, you'll see that I'm moving into that right hip line, and this is a slide. We don't want this. This is a very weak, awkward, unathletic position to be in. It's very hard to shift your weight back to the right. I've let my weight move to the outside of my right foot, and I'm in trouble here. It's a very weak position to be in. So what I'm trying to do is let my weight push my ankle into the ground and keep it centered over my foot. I never want to roll to the outside of my foot. This is a death move. But you've got to allow yourself to move into the middle of your foot and load your ankle without this hip sliding out this way. The other problem that I see all the time is people, again, this goes back to being afraid of swaying. So what they do is they try to not move their hips at all in terms of laterally. It's okay to move laterally. And so they just turn and they stay really centered, and so their hip moves toward the target. And the reason is your hips are turning during the backswing, obviously, right? So what you're really doing to keep this hip in position the whole time is that you're moving laterally while turning at the same time. And so that makes it look like it didn't actually move laterally at all. But because it's turning back, it's moving away from the target line, it makes it look like it's staying in the same position. I've also talked about kind of imagining that you're creasing the pant leg in your groin area where your hip flexors are right here. If you imagine that you're kind of turning into this right leg and just increasing pressure on the right foot, rather, if you're one of those people that tends to slide, think about increasing pressure on your right leg and creasing that pant leg. The opposite of that would be letting your right leg rotate out, let your weight go to your outside of your foot, and you'll see now that my pant leg is not creased because I've let my leg rotate with me. I don't want this leg to rotate out very much. So you can kind of imagine that your right knee is pointing at the ball the whole time, and if I keep it there, as I start to shift this way while turning into that right leg, my pant leg creases and my right leg stays as like an anchor, as a rock, to allow me to load up and store a lot of energy in the backswing. So you don't want to sway, but you do have to shift laterally while you're turning your hips, and that will get you loaded up properly to make a powerful shift in the downswing.